morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Thursday here at Top Gun Options. A little before market open, SITREP futures are indicating higher on, earnings. Again, kind of relatively mixed earnings, but also on relative. I'm going to say good news on another Brexit deal. So this is this is kind of like the whole what's going on with China trade. We see the same thing play out over and over, and we get a little bit of a market bump, and then it fades because it's not really a deal yet. I wouldn't be a buyer of the futures being up this morning. Morgan Stanley, a 3% beat, I think, so that wasn't too bad. But again, watching us coming in earnings, folks, the street has done a decent job of what it does every quarter. It says earnings are going to be horrific, and when they come in just kind of horrible, the market goes up, which makes no sense unless you've been doing this for a while, and then it makes total sense because you're used to what they're doing. So we're going to get into a little bit of a strategic and operational brief here, and then we'll talk turkey, talk tactics. Real quick, I had a great night last night. We did a kind of a top secret tactic. We did some sample training of what you're going to get here when you become a full throttle member at Top Gun Options. We talked about what we call a burner trade on volatility. Right, let's go take a look at the VIX. The volatility index is down here pre-market, around 13.5. When's the last time we saw 13.5? Well, about a month ago before we had a huge spike in volatility. When's the last time we saw before last month? About 2 months ago, end of July, beginning of August, when we were down here, and then a massive explosion. When volatility is cheap, you buy it. When it's expensive up here, you sell it. Folks, this is like shooting fish in a barrel. We made about $25,000 actually across all the portfolios, close to $30,000 in the third quarter trading this volatility, just like this, buying it when it's cheap, selling it when it's expensive, buying it when it's cheap. It ain't rocket surgery, folks. It's actually relatively easy. We're going to teach you how to do that here at Top Gun Options. If you haven't seen the replays from this week, from last night you couldn't attend, or yesterday's accelerated retirement brief, we closed a one-day trade on the S&P 500 for a $1,600 profit. We took a look in the primary live trade brief at a nearly $2,600 profit, 80% in Raytheon. Having a great week. I guess I got good news and bad news. The good news is we're almost full. The bad news is if you haven't grabbed your slot, there's, as of me shooting this video this morning at what time? 9:15. There are only, we haven't done this in years, there are only 7 slots left, which means we're most likely going to be closed by the time I do our brief this afternoon. So you have to head to go.topgunoptions.com/Get FT. That stands for Get Full Throttle. Just click on this big image at the top, and it'll take you right over there to the shopping cart. If you know the track you want to do, max, offensive or defensive, go right to that page. If you're kind of looking around, you can scroll around and find out what you're going to get on this page right here. You're going to get 8 industry-leading live training sessions along with all the live trading we do throughout the week. Nobody else does this, folks. Nobody else opens the doors to their trading squadron for a full week. Actually, some people do, and they charge you $500, and they suck. I don't. Open up the doors, you see the winning trades, you see the losing trades, you see our performance, and this is what we do. So you got 7 folks to go, and if you're not going to be one of those 7 folks, I think our next full throttle is out in January. So we're closing the doors, folks, and this Q4 is going to be an absolute clown car. We're going to see an implosion here in October. Then we're going to see a November, December rally. You can count on it, and I'm going to teach you how to trade that. So only 7 more folks will get in the doors, and we'll probably be closed today. After we do our brief today, we'll probably be done. And I'm probably going to change to a different brief for tomorrow. We're going to make an audible because I'm not going to give any more free full throttle stuff. I'll actually, I'll probably talk about solo Amazon tomorrow. Maybe that's what we'll do. All right, strategically, Iran still an issue. Real quickly on the domestic political front, Representative Elijah Cummings passed away last night from Baltimore. He's, really went to loggerheads with the president. The president called his Baltimore essentially a shithole. The guy represented it for, 30, 40 years. And I think over his career, he got like $15 billion in government money for his district. And it looks like that. And the passing of any human being is not a moment to rejoice or be happy or take. I wish the man, and I hope and I bless his soul. But that kind of takes a little bit of a sting out of the impeachment, since he was one of the foaming at the mouth guys who was going after the president. But Godspeed. Iran's still out there as an issue. This Syria thing's getting ugly. Lindsey Graham, who's a massive, huge supporter, carries the president's jockstrap, so to speak. I will be the president's worst nightmare on Syria if necessary.
John, go ahead.
This is now when the Republicans are going after each other, things are getting a little ugly. The president is backtracking pretty hard, trying to figure out what to do. He sent, Erdogan a letter written, kind of on a cocktail napkin type of thing. Don't be an idiot. Don't be a tough guy. I'll crush you and your economy. Don't go into Syria. Reports say that he actually took that letter, Erdogan, and threw it in the trash and then invaded. He's while Vice President Pence and Secretary of State Pompeo were actually on an airplane yesterday flying over there, he more or less undercut what those guys were going to be saying to this. And Erdogan slapped the president back in the face and said, "I'm not meeting with Pence or Pompeo. Those guys are second-rate, third-rate politicians, if you are thinking about Nancy Pelosi, and I'm not meeting with them. I only talk to the president." Whoa. But it's pretty interesting that Democrats who cared not one iota about protecting our borders are mad at the president for not protecting Syria's borders. Let that sink in. God forbid we send the military to our borders to protect us from an invasion. Hey, folks, if I was ISIS or Al Qaeda or the Taliban and I wanted to send people to this country, do you think I'd put them on airliners to fly into America? Or do you think, since they kind of look Arabic folks can look, Latin American, do you think they put them in these huge caravans? Nah, they wouldn't think of that, would they? Besides all my buddies in the Customs Service that say they find prayer rugs, Korans, they've arrested people from the Middle East. Nah, don't worry about it. Let's go protect Syria's border. China cuts $6.8 billion in U.S. Treasuries in August, hitting a record low. This is the Global Times. This is the mouthpiece of China. This is a not so subtle poke at the president like, hey, man, why don't we just dump all your treasuries? Why don't we have Rick Santelli have a heart attack on the floor of the CBOT when you guys do your next bond auction and we don't buy any of them and actually we want our money back? Woo! That's a global thermonuclear weapon in this trade war. Mnuchin, U.S. Chinese teams working on phase 1 trade deal text. So here we are again, Mnuchin looking like the idiot out front saying, well, yeah, we're 90% of the way there. It's one of my losing trades, 2-3 months ago when Mnuchin's like, we're 90% of the way there. We're getting on an airplane. We're going to enjoy the nuts. We're going to get there. We're going to talk about what salad dressing we're going to have at the signing ceremony. And then he got on a plane Sunday when Trump told him to come home. And Monday, the market imploded. Don't listen to any of this stuff, folks. It's noise. There are no plans for him and the heavies to meet. The underlings are talking on the phone right now, but they're trying to get the president and Xi Jinping to sign this phase 1 agreement down in Chile at the next summit. It's the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation countries, November 16th and 17th. So literally, folks, a month from today. So a month from today is when Trump and Xi Jinping might sign something about phase 1. That's what? Seriously? We have a month of this, ladies and gentlemen, and Beijing has already telegraphed that we ain't signing nothing, no phase 1 anything, until you remove a couple of the tariffs. Oh, wait, I'm wrong. But only if Washington removes all. The market still hasn't woken up to this, folks, this language. And they're going to. The market is going to implode. And does anybody remember the last time these guys met? Down in Latin America, they met in Buenos Aires, in Argentina, where Xi Jinping, my great friend, dear leader, the great dude, said he's going to kill anybody who exports opiates to the United States. He's going to buy ag products. What a huge deal. I'm fantastic. I'm bullish. I'm not going to raise any tariffs. It was a load of bullshit. None of it happened. But yeah, this time, let's believe it. Hong Kong protest leader viciously attacked with hammers and wrenches. The dude's in the hospital. I'm going to give you an update. I talked to somebody on the phone, really, really dark, zero dark 30, who is there, works in an unnamed firm. And the Chinese military is not going to storm into Hong Kong. You heard that here first, unless obviously drastically needed. They're already in Hong Kong. You know who they're dressed as? People. So China's doing this fantastic. You know what they did to the NBA, dude? Like within hours of that Houston whatever guy saying something good about the Hong Kong protesters, his account was flooded with like 170,000 anti-him tweets. They were China bots, folks. 0 followers. The Chinese are becoming experts in information warfare. They are not going to steamroll into Hong Kong. They're going to do this. They're going to start taking hammers, wrenches, and they're going to start killing people on the side, wearing Adidas shirts, or maybe wearing LeBron James shirts. This is awful. Beijing confirms the arrest of 2 Americans as trade tensions rise. Here we go. Remember what happened to the Huawei lady? She was arrested up in Canada at our request. Infuriated the Chinese. Now, tensions are rising here, folks. This is what cracks me up about the futures being up or anything right now, or even FXI being up a little bit right now. I'm getting ready. We might even talk today about a burner trade on FXI. This thing's going to implode. When the market wakes up to the fact that they want all the things done, that the protesters this weekend are going to get beat to hell, and like Xi Jinping said the other day, I'm going to turn their bones to powder. And Larry Kudlow on CNBC this morning, more or less sounding like, again, Mr. Magoo. This thing's going lower, man. Last time we did, you ready for this? Last time we did a burner trade on FXI right here before it fell off a ledge. When we did this trade, it expired for $20,000. It was a bear call spread that expired for a max profit of whatever it was, $3,000. We made $17,000 on puts. I'm telling you, this is going to happen again. You got to show up at 1 o'clock because we're going to talk about this. So futures are green. Yay. Brexit, I don't even know what's going on there. The people voted to leave, and it's taken years for the government to figure out what to do. Actually, it took years for the government to look at the people and go, well, you're all kind of stupid. We're in power, and we're not going to listen to what you guys want to do. That's not – I'd sell any of these rallies, folks. Oh, and by the way, this came out a couple hours ago. It sounds like the Fed ain't going to cut at the next meeting. Chicago Fed President Charles Evans, who had strongly supported the last 2 cuts, said this week he saw no future cuts this week. So, folks, this is another reason why I stare at the market and go, we're going to roll over. We can be early, right? We're dogfighting this market in F-18. These big funds and hedge funds and financial institutions can't maneuver and shift as quick as I can. But I like being early because you don't want to be late. It's like my father. Hey, Matthew, can you bring me to the airport? When, Dad? Now. Your flight's at 8 p.m. tonight. Yeah, I know. I want to get there at 10 a.m. So I'll sit at the gate with my book. Because he unfortunately, he was right. He's like, hey, man, if I'm 1 minute late, they ain't pulling the airplane back. So look at this, folks. This dude is a massive dove, and he said this week he sees no more cuts. Read this. I've predicted both market implosions after that Fed meeting and this Fed meeting. And it's going to happen again after this one, especially if they don't cut. So get ready, man. It's about to get really, 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 really super interesting. 7 more slots. Go.topgunoptions.com/getft. 1 o'clock today, we're going to do our last full throttle brief. We're going to analyze the trades across the portfolio and do our weekly debrief. And then tomorrow, we're most likely going to be closed with full throttle, and then maybe we'll talk solo Amazon instead. Because if we're full, there's no reason to give away more free content about full throttle. We'll see you in February if you don't get your slot. Okay, all right, I got to get going. I want to listen to the rest of this interview with Larry Kudlow. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see you at 1 o'clock. Welcome aboard to the 43 currently new Full Throttle members, and welcome aboard to the 7 who are going to grab their slot today. We'll see you.